For 2,000 years, Mary Magdalene has been the focus of one of the Christian world's largest mysteries. The images and tales that we, the interested persons of the 21st century, have of her are wildly paradoxical, for the idea of who Mary is has been reshaped, restretched, and altogether remolded countless times over the centuries following the death of the man, Jesus Christ. She is the most mentioned woman in the New Testament, even more so than Jesus' mother, the Virgin Mary. And for this reason, one would think that she is the woman in the life of Christ that society has the most decisive understanding of. This is not the case. In art, she's been portrayed as the contemplative reader, a devout preacher, a repentant sinner, and the apostle to the apostles, the woman who first saw the resurrected Christ and told Jesus' faithful followers of his resurrection. To this day, the question of who Mary Magdalene is remains because of the conflated tale surrounding her role as a female companion of Jesus Christ. Finally, in 1945, the case for Mary Magdalene, the woman who knew all, who knew Jesus' message best, was reopened. In Nag Hammadi, Egypt, lost texts named the Gnostic Gospels regarding the life of Jesus Christ were found in a previously abandoned cave. These texts elevated Mary to a greater spiritual authority than ever before, none of which, of course, made any explicit mention of Mary as a sexual sinner. There was, however, new controversy to come with the translation from the newfound Gospel of Philip. In the Gospel, it is said that Mary Magdalene is Jesus' koinonos, or companion. Now, the question was not if Mary was a repentant whore, but rather if her relationship with Jesus himself was a physical one. It is from these texts that Mark Adamo, a theater composer set in San Francisco, developed the plot for the Gospel of Mary Magdalene in 2007. Based on the canonical Gospels, the Gnostic Gospels, and nearly a century of biblical scholarship, the opera reimagined the New Testament through the eyes of the legend's most substantial female character, Mary Magdalene. Adamo's libretto, the long composition that accompanies an opera, begins with this as an explanation as to why he wrote the opera. No gospel was written as history, but every gospel, not only those included in the New Testament, contains fragments of the history of Jesus of Nazareth and of those who followed him. In 2007, I wondered, could you develop from those fragments a credibly human, original version of the story we only know through its later magical embellishments? In such a New Testament, might its women characters speak as eloquently as its men? The Gnostic Gospels suggest as much. And might such a story gain, rather than lose, nobility, breadth, passion, nerve, if, instead of the usual saints, angels, and sinners, it centered on human beings making momentous decisions guided by only painful experience, moral intuition, and the light they have to see by? The Gospel of Mary Magdalene is my answer. In the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, Mary is no fiend, no villain, no flimsy women following Yeshua, Jesus' name in the play. The San Francisco Chronicle review of the opera, which Adamo himself notes most closely matches the piece I tried to make, says, Adamo's ambitious 3-hour opus isn't merely out to offer an alternative version of the familiar story set in the first century Judea about a small sect of spiritual seekers and their charismatic leader, Yeshua, aka Jesus, who fell afoul of Roman authorities. Nor is it content to introduce a love story where most previous accounts avoid one. No. What Adamo wants is to correct and complement Christian tradition by restoring the title character to a central place in the life of Yeshua. In particular, he wants to credit Mary Magdalene, in contrast with the all-male apostolic posse, with shaping Yeshua's teachings into the form that we know today. In the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, Mary is introduced as a prostitute. Adamo has stated he included this aspect of the fictional Mary Magdalene character in his opera because he wished to portray her as a woman of passion, one who longed and yearned for companionship, inspiration that he drew from the Song of Songs, the song of the Magdalene feast. The Song of Songs is an erotic one which tells the tale of a woman longing for union with her beloved. Yeshua finds Mary Magdalene just before she was to be stoned and pardons her. Yeshua, at this time, is still coming to terms with his divinity and his role as a mortal man. He is still searching for his inspirational philosophy. Adamo sees it that the two were meant to find each other. Yeshua and Mary grow very close. Too close, some think. Peter, Yeshua's dearest male friend, grows increasingly jealous of Mary, and a rivalry develops between them, a true occurrence suggested by the Gnostic Gospels. Peter could hardly view Mary, a lowly woman, as an equal or even someone worth listening to, said the Huffington Post's review of the opera. But the question Adamo wishes to place in the minds of his audience is then, how would human history have been different if, as the Gnostic Gospels suggest, Yeshua's co-preacher and co-leader had been a woman? How can sexuality and spirituality be reconciled? The opera's director, Kevin Newbury, had these remarks upon the opera's closing at the end of the summer of 2013. Part epic grand opera, part intimate passion play, Mark Adamo's The Gospel of Mary Magdalene encourages us to ask new questions of an iconic story. For me, the entire opera is about the search for new meaning in a familiar story. Mary searches for meaning in her own life. Yeshua searches for what would become his inspirational message and philosophy. Peter searches for a way to stay true to the movement while contending with the strong, new female presence. Our goal is to ask questions of the story and to look at these characters as real human beings. Adamo's opera sought to create the human Mary, one of equal intelligence and demure to her companion, Yeshua. This Mary has sinned and was forgiven. This Mary has a voice and is not afraid to speak out for what she believes in. This Mary is the reason behind Christ's teaching, the essential grounds for Christianity. Mary Magdalene of the 21st century opera is a relatable, strong female character. The history of the true Mary Magdalene is still flooded with mystery. The Mary of Adamo's opera is an inspiration to female leaders across the globe.